Maintenance day, yeah. Just a couple things there, so just a maintenance day for him.
You mentioned yesterday that he was playing through something. Is this, if it's all about getting ready for the playoffs now, like is this something that could happen down the stretch where he has to take some time?
I don't think it'd be a problem, but we still got to keep an eye on even certain players. We want to win every game, but you also want to be smart. So we just got to kind of find where we want to go with this.
But he should play tomorrow night?
Yeah, yes.
Ian Cole didn't play last night. Is he expected to be back? Or?
We haven't made a decision yet. Still, we'll have our meetings tomorrow morning. I like that coaches sleep on it and stuff. Go from there.
It's a good problem to have when you have extra defensemen, but is that a bit of a challenge as well when guys are playing well and you got to pick who goes?
Well, it's tough because you want guys to play, but you also want guys to be fresh too. So there's you got to look at each individual and see who needs some time. You have to work on their games. Like sometimes you get extra practice time. It goes a long way working on your game.
Is that an approach then where it would be like one in, one out, one in, one out versus a stretch?
Yeah, I don't know if I like I'm not sure it's a one in, one out. I think it's game by game. Some guys get on a roll. You don't want to kind of hamper that either. So you got to kind of find it.
A couple wins and you guys will basically lock in your playoff spot. Is that something you guys are looking to as a short-term motivation?
No, I think that's dangerous when you start to, if we get 5 more points, this and that. I honestly, I don't look at it that way. You try to, in the team meetings, that's not how we approach it. I don't know how the players think when they leave individually, but I think it's important that you think it game to game. If you get 98 points, you get 100 points, you're here, whatever. This team. I think it gets dangerous if you think that way.
As a former player, you know how unpopular the concept of load management, or whatever term you want to use, is. You said as a coach last night, this is just what we have to do. So you realize how players don't like the idea of even reducing ice time or giving up a couple of shifts, let alone coming out of the lineup.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that's today's. That's what you have to play Dr. Phil out there. You have to explain experience. John Cooper's a good buddy of mine. I had a nice conversation with him tomorrow. You ask him. I pick his brain on certain things. He's went through it on those Stanley Cup runs. Not saying that we're Tampa Bay at all. I'm just saying that you use certain resources to find out some ways to handle certain things.
And you can handle players being upset at you as long as they understand it's for the greater good.
Oh, 100%. I was upset with some of my coaches, but it actually, for me, it motivated me. But also you have to take a step back and realize why. And sometimes players will understand later. I've had a lot of players after their career. I've even had the coaches. I understand what where you're coming from. So, yeah, it is what it is. You just gotta. But I still think you owe the player explanations and talk. I mean, I don't believe in it's my way, the highway. You have to explain. But at the end of the day, these are decisions. And I utilize those guys in my room there. They got some good thoughts too. So it's just not me. I mean, I collect all the info and then go from there.
It sounds like there's a lot of balancing at this point of the season. Balancing of emotions, balancing of lines, balancing of load management or whatever. How do you approach that balancing?
Well, I think you got to be even keel. I don't think you change because as the season ends, you become more talkative or less talkative. I think you just got to be who you are. I think that's the key. These are, and sometimes it can be the dog days now. People are waiting for the end, whatever, the prize, whatever is, is it to get in the playoffs or whatever. I think you got to, we are a process team. We got to go through these steps, and tomorrow's Calgary. And that's how we think short term. And you just try to keep experience, out of a foot. Gosh, guys like that have won before. The Twins, high level, where you're in these situations, how did you deal with it? And I think it's important that you give these players the story and then apply it.
And when these guys are giving them the stories, is it to a whole room at once? Is it to small groups? Like, how is that working behind the scenes?
Well, I think team stuff usually comes from me. I'll ask a coach to maybe say some of an experience, but it's more individual, more smaller groups. We do a lot of individual teaching, a lot of individual mental therapy or whatever it is. And I think it really helps the players because then they get a voice too.
Rick, you've talked a lot about Puck Colson's forward checking his physical play.
Yeah.
What have you thought about when the puck is on his stick offensively?
He's getting better. He's getting better. Working out with him today in practice, a lot calmer with the puck, a little more supple, like the way his body is now. I think he's getting closer and closer. You handled the puck today like so good today. I said, just pretend like, now it's a visualization, just think in the game situation. It doesn't matter if who cares if 18,000 fans or you're at practice. It's the same movement, and now you just got to apply it. And I think that's the next key for him.
Do you see him getting more confident on the ice or more comfortable the longer he's been up here?
I saw him yesterday really have some confidence. I mean, he was banging guys like there was 3-4 checking hits he had, and listen, you don't want to get hit, right? And I felt a couple of their D later in the period, they got rid of the puck a little quicker because of Podsy doing that. That's the mentality we have to have. You got to wear and tear, wear teams down with that. I mean, and Podsy has that skill to separate people from the puck.
There's a couple of guys that did that yesterday. Pod Colson was one of them, but Lafferty going after Xhekaj, Connor Garland also playing that. When you see that late in the season, does it make you feel good because it's kind of the mentality you have to have in the playoffs?
Well, it's urgency, and I think guys understand now that we need everybody to do that. It's a pack mentality. I saw it a little bit last game. There's more than one or two guys hitting. It's not even, like I said, killing guys. It's about going through people, getting in front of people, winning stick battles, puck battles, and it's going through people.
You thought about putting Seelovs on there at all?
Yeah, we're gonna have to think about it. Yeah, I mean, but because it's spaced out, the way the schedule is, and Casey being, the way he's playing. And some parts of the games, he's not getting a lot of work too, which is a good thing. But like I said, that save he made in the second period was a big one for us.
On the topic of kind of the overall schedule, it was very untraditional schedule for the first part of the month, but now you're back into game day, off day, game day. Is that, as a coach, do you prefer that sort of schedule where you're back at it every second day?
Well, I'm not going to say I love the 9-game consecutive at home. I mean, I don't mind, but I do like the fact that we've had some time here. I think it's important to be in your building, get your, guys seeing their families, but also getting, our therapy room, we're familiar with the stuff. But we do a lot of, the big road trips, 7-gamers, 6-gamers this year, and we handle them pretty well. And it's experience too. Like, I don't think I've ever been in this situation where you had 9 home games. So you're learning from it too. A different practice, different practice tempo, things like today we were a little bit shorter than usual, and I think down the road we might have to even give him more days off because it's going to be a grind.
Looking back, do you feel like it's more beneficial to have this kind of at the end of the season to have players a little bit more rested and time to heal?
Well, I like us not going out east in the month of March, I'll tell you that. So we'll see. I hope it doesn't happen next year. But I like the fact that we're not in different time zones because I think February kicked the hell out of us a little bit. It affected us, and but every team's got to go through it. So all of us coaches about the schedule, but everybody goes through it.
Rick, the other day you talked about the team needing to get into a 5th gear. With what you've seen in practices in the last 2 games, do you feel like you're close to that point in terms of how you feel about their overall play?
Well, the overall puck decisions is getting better. And I think for me, the play without the puck has been better. So I think that's the urgency I'm looking for, yeah. Those are the 2 areas for me you really want to see. Yeah, you want to score goals. I get all that stuff. But the play without the puck and then puck management at this time of the year wins hockey games. You got to score goals. You got to have a good specialty teams for sure. But those 2 things come hand in hand with success and long-term success.
Take a more active role with the schedule. I know it's not your thing.
For
the schedule for next year. Make sure you don't have 9 at 9.
I'm actually like to be involved in that. Yeah.
Were you involved last year?
A little bit. I think it was already set though. I think late to the party type of thing. But like Jim's good. He knows what he knows that sort of stuff. Do you like 7-game road trips? Do you like how many back-to-backs do you want? These are philosophy things that you go through as an organization.
Looking back at last night, just a collective effort, but especially the third and fourth lines really chipping in offensively. And I want to focus on Pod Colson's game because we've seen growth over the last 7 games. When you play next to him, what do you notice about his game, maybe compared to a preseason?
I feel like I didn't really get to play with him much in preseason. That was a long time ago, so it's tough to compare necessarily for me. But I think like he's been very solid. His decision making's been very good. He's been reliable. He's had some big hits the last couple of games, so he's been very good on the forecheck, physical, getting pucks back, good puck protection. So I think he's all around just played a really solid game.
From a team perspective, it's tough to play 82 games when you're hitting, you're going max effort. But this time of the year, it feels like everybody's ramping it up. And how important is that this time of the year when you're just like, it's got to be collective, it's got to happen at the same time, and everybody's really, playing that physical game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's huge. I think that's kind of what you need in playoffs, right? And I think it's one of those things where I think it's really important to be playing really well going into playoffs and clicking and everyone contributing and having our team identity and guys buying into their roles. I think it's a tough thing where if you're kind of struggling going into playoffs, it's really tough to kind of turn it on once playoffs start. So I think, you want to kind of keep building that game throughout the end of the regular season here and kind of going in playoffs with some good momentum and some good energy.
A guy who's been to playoffs before. Some of the guys in here haven't been to like a normal playoffs outside of the bubble. What kind of advice do you have for them as you move towards that?
I mean, not much really. I mean, we also have quite a few guys that have played in playoffs in their career. But I mean, you're playing the same game. I think the intensity just ramps up. So the attention to detail, obviously the cost of mistakes is a little higher. So I think you just got to be really dialed in and focused and committed to doing your job. Be willing to put your body on the line, physically blocking shots, all those little details that, a lot of playoffs games or even regular season games are decided by really, really small margins. So, it's a matter of kind of getting all those little details dialed in, playing hard, doing your job and executing well.
You slid into a different line here at practice. I don't know Lindy's status right now, but I mean, how much do you pride yourself on versatility and just kind of being able to play wherever the coach puts you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty easy to do with kind of the guys that we have here. I think we're pretty deep in all positions, so regardless who you're playing with, I think it's a fairly easy adjustment. I think, everyone, as far as our team system, it's all the same regardless who you're playing with, so I think that doesn't change, and obviously my game doesn't change either, so I honestly don't think too much of it. I think, we had a pretty good game with Oms and Pods last night, and whatever happens going forward, I mean, either way, it doesn't really matter, nothing really changes for me.
Was there a little you and Garley reunion there last night?
Tried to split you up. But
yeah, I mean, obviously, I like playing with Gar too. He's a great player. It makes it easy to play with him. Yeah, I mean, it was good to get one with him, I guess, yeah.
There's been times in the past when this room's been a little quiet. Guys come in, take their gear, they're gone. We've seen a lot more laughing, guys hanging around, joking. Is that an indicator of the confidence and just the camaraderie within the team?
Yeah, probably a little bit. I think it's been, as far as I can hear and behind the scenes, it's been pretty loose. And we've got some great characters in here, some funny personalities. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun to be around. And obviously when the team's having success, everyone's in a better mood. So I think that helps a little bit too. But yeah, I mean, I think it's been a great balance. And that's kind of what you want to maintain is when you need to dial it in, you get a little more serious and focus, but also, make sure you enjoy yourself and kind of, you don't know how many opportunities you'll get being on a good team with a chance to do something. So you think you want to enjoy that part of it too.
Going back to your experience last year, how important is that having just a dynamic in a locker room in the playoffs where your guys keep it loose and it's not always serious?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was huge. I thought last year that's kind of one of the things that first stood out to me when I first got there. It was like very loose locker room, funny characters. Everyone's kind of chirping everyone. Yeah, that's something, like I said, like I noticed right away, and it kind of stood out to me. And I thought that the dynamic of, the off-ice kind of camaraderie was great, and I think that really helps, when you're on the ice as well.
Are you